Can you hear the birds? I don't know if you can in the camera. Okay. Hey everybody, it is Elena from West Coast Seeds, and today we are talking about 5 things that you can do in the garden in January and 2 things that you probably shouldn't. I'm in Zone 8A in coastal BC, and it can feel really weird in January where you want to get a lot done, but you know that you probably shouldn't do everything right now because there's still the danger of frost. We're still in the winter. So this is a list of things that I'm going to be doing here in the garden in January to sort of help prepare and get ready without getting too excited. So the first and most important thing that you can do is to review last year's garden. If you keep a garden journal, this is great. You can sort of look back on your notes. If you don't keep a garden journal, I recommend that you do. But you're gonna sit down and take a minute and you're just going to think on the last year and everything that's happened. This is one of the most valuable things that you can do that doesn't actually involve being out in the garden. We recommend doing this right along garden planning. So when you have your catalogs open and your plans and you're sitting there with your cozy tea, not only should you plan for the future, but also think about what's happened in the last season and anything that you might change or improve. Some things that I like to include in my yearly review are the things that I've grown. So did I grow too much of a variety? I'm looking at you, zucchini. Did I grow not enough of a variety? Was there something that I tried this year that I really liked or that I didn't like? I also like to ask the people in my circle and see what they liked or what they didn't like. For example, this year I knew that flowers were a big hit, not only for me, but with the people in my circle. They seem to love it. Another important thing to think of is any pests that you have. For example, I know that slugs were a big problem for me this year, so I'm going to consider anything that I can do for next year to keep myself prepared. Another great option for pest control is to plant trap crops like nasturtium. These are highly desirable to your pests like aphids, which means that they will eat the nasturtium and not your hard-earned strawberries or whatever crops that you're actually growing. With me and my slugs, that means I'll probably be more intentional about crop protection and how to prevent the slugs from even starting to eat my plants and starting to produce. Number 2, this is another thing that you can do inside without having to stand out here in the cold, is to organize your seed collection. So we recommend taking a minute to go through your collection and categorize everything that you've got. Something about physically seeing your collection and touching the seed packets is very helpful for me. And this is a good time for me to check if there are any seeds that have expired or to see if I have any gaps in my collection. This is also the time when I like to go through my catalog and see if there's new varieties that I might be interested in. There are a few different ways that you can categorize your seeds. Some people like to do it according to type. Some people like to do it according to planting season. It's really up to you which variety you want to do. However, while you're going through your collection and you're sorting everything, we also recommend checking their germination rate. Most seeds have a shelf life of around 3 years. West Coast Seeds actually has a seed longevity chart that we recommend checking out. This actually keeps a list of several seeds we carry, and will categorize for you exactly how long each seed lasts, so you can reference how the date on your packet and how much time your seed may have. However, even if your seed is technically past its shelf life, it can still germinate. You can do this by taking your seed and wrapping it in a damp paper towel, and then checking on it in a few days to see if it germinates. If you have a variety that you love and it's past its expiration date, you can still do a germination test, and then when it goes to plant, you can plant a few more seeds per square or per hole instead of 1 or 2, and this will give you a higher odds of success. Number 3 is to plant only the seeds that benefit from a head start. Here in Zone 8, or in the South Coastal BC of Canada, there are some seeds that I can actually start now indoors that will be ready, and they need that longer start. The important thing here is that I'm not starting too early, but rather choosing seeds that need lots of time to get ready before they will Okay, there it goes. That will be ready to plant out come our last frost date in the spring. The important thing here is to intentionally choose plants that benefit from the head start. Most plants won't need it, but some plants genuinely do need that head start. I'm talking about onions, leeks, artichokes, and even strawberries that need so much time to germinate from seed into seedling. These particular crops are slow growers, which means starting them early isn't a matter of being impatient, but it's about giving them enough time to be ready for the transplanting date. Each gardening zone will have its own list of crops that can be started early or not. West Coast Seeds has regional planting guides that break down which seeds to start and when according to your region. Even if you're choosing to start these crops inside, you still need to make sure that you are giving them enough light, heat, and water. So even a small seed starting space with a light and a heat mat will be enough. The 4th thing that you can do in January to prepare your garden for spring is to pre-order your bulbs and crowns. Some things are not worth the time to start from seed. Things like asparagus can take years to start producing from seed. While it's still too early in January to plant most of these things, you can pre-order them now, which means that they'll arrive ready around the springtime for you to put in the ground. Here at West Coast Seeds, we time our planting according to the frost dates in your area, which means that if you pre-order with us, we will ship them to you when it is time. We carry a wide variety of these seasonal goods, like flower bulbs, asparagus crowns, seed potatoes, and even onion sets. Pre-ordering also means that you get to have first pick of what's available instead of waiting to the end, and some of your favorite varieties might not be available. Because things like onion sets and asparagus crowns are alive, West Coast Seeds ships according to your zone. As soon as overnight temperatures in your area are consistently above freezing, West Coast Seeds will send you your package. This means that the risk of your seed potatoes or your asparagus crowns freezing while in transport is minimized. While you may have missed the window for spring flowers like tulips, you're not too late for summer flowers like dahlias and gladiolus. The fifth and final thing that you can do in January to prepare for the spring is to plan your succession plants. We have all been there, where you harvest your body weight in, say, zucchini at the start of the season and then nothing else for the rest of the season. Most gardeners don't fail because they don't have enough space, they fail because of timing and poor planning. Succession planting, or the lack of succession planting, is why your garden would stop producing seemingly halfway through the season. You can have one small bed and only plant one crop, which we don't advise, but if you successionally plant that crop, you will have it all season long. This is particularly important for crops that only produce once, like carrots. Crops like summer squash are known to be prolific producers and they'll continue to produce throughout the season, but once you harvest a carrot, the harvest is over. Succession planting is also great for crops that have a tendency to bolt, like arugula and lettuce. Being able to harvest them right away minimizes the risk of bolting, and planting them successionally means that you'll continue to have these crops all throughout the season. So while you're planning out your garden and you're taking lists of your seeds, take time to consider what you're going to plant successionally and which crops will need to be planted again. Now, while there's lots that you can do to plan and prepare for your garden, there's the things that we recommend that you don't do quite yet here in January, is to start your seeds too early. I know it can feel like it's finally spring, the new year is here. This is especially true for your heat-loving crops like your tomatoes, your peppers, and your summer squash. Starting them now doesn't give you a head start, it'll give you leggy seedlings that won't be ready to be put outside. Unfortunately, in the wintertime, you cannot outwin Mother Nature's timing. So instead, you can add these heat-loving crops to your summer plan and then make a note of when to start them later on in the spring. Again, West Coast Seeds has regional planting guides that you can use, which will tell you what you can plant and when according to your region. And that is our list of everything that you should and maybe shouldn't do in the garden in January. Gardeners in January need to remember that it is not about rushing into spring quite yet. You have lots of time to plan and prepare. It's all about preparation and not rushing into things too quickly. All of the resources mentioned in this video are free and linked below. And if you want more gardening advice and tips, feel free to subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.